The dashboard glowed like a dying ember. The GPS arrow pulsing to a motel I'd never heard of. My wife's voice still echoed from the voicemail. Mom's fever spiked. I'll crash there tonight. But the dial on my phone had already crossed the city line. I killed the engine 2 blocks away, heart jackhammering against my ribs, and tasted copper where I'd bitten my tongue. Sarah had kissed me goodbye that morning. Coffee on her breath, the same ritual for 12 years. Her fingers lingered on my cheek a second too long, or maybe I imagined it. I've been imagining a lot lately. The way she angled her phone away at dinner, the new perfume that smelled like someone else's money, the night she came home flushed and humming songs I didn't recognize. Little fractures I'd patched with excuses. Stress at the hospital, her mother's decline, my own long hours at the firm. Love is a renovation project. You ignore the rot until the floor caves. I walked the last stretch on foot, shoes silent on wet asphalt. The motel squatted under a buzzing sign, vacancy in red, the V flickering like a warning. Room 12's curtain twitched. I pressed against a brick, breath fogging in the October chill, and caught the low murmur of voices through the thin wall. "Can't keep doing this," Sarah said, voice cracked open like she'd been crying. Not the brisk, competent nurse who'd stitched my forehead after I'd fallen off the ladder last spring. This was raw, pleading. A man answered, too soft to catch words, but the cadence was intimate, familiar. My stomach lurched. I edged to the window, through the gap in the curtains. Sarah on the edge of the bed, elbows on knees, face buried in her hands. The man, tall, dark hair graying at the temples, knelt in front of her. He wore the same scuffed leather jacket he'd had since college. Mark, my best friend since we were 19, the one who'd stood beside me at the altar, who'd taught my daughter to ride a bike when I was too scared she'd fall. Mark's hand cupped Sarah's cheek, thumb wiping a tear. "He doesn't see you any more," he said, gentle as a confession. "Not the way I do." Sarah's laugh was wet, broken. "He sees plenty, just not this." She gestured between them. Helpless, I should have stormed in, should have shattered the moment like glass. Instead, I stood frozen, watching my marriage autopsy itself in real time. The betrayal wasn't the sex. I hadn't seen that yet, thank God, but the tenderness. The way Mark's fingers traced a scar on Sarah's wrist, the one from when she'd shielded our dog from a car 10 years ago. I'd kissed that scar 1,000 times. Now it belonged to someone else's story. Denial surged first. This is grief, not cheating. Her mom's dying. People cling to lifelines. Then anger, hot and righteous. 12 years, 2 kids. The house we painted sage green because she said felt like hope. I'd worked doubles to pay for her nursing degree. Mark had crashed on our couch after his divorce, drank my whiskey, cried into my shoulder. And this was a gratitude? But guilt slunk him behind the rage. When was the last time I'd asked Sarah how her day really was, not just nodded while scrolling emails? When had I stopped noticing the way her scrubs smelled like antiseptic in exhaustion? Love calcifies if you don't keep chipping at it. Inside, Sarah stood. "We end this tonight," she said, voice steadier. "Before it destroys everything." Mark caught her wrist. "You don't mean that." "I do." She pulled free, but gently, like releasing a bird. "I love him. God help me, I still do." The words hit harder than any slap. I staggered back, palm against the wall, gravel biting through my coat. Love. Present tense. Not loved. Not past. A lifeline I hadn't earned. Mark's face crumpled. "Then why?" "Because I'm drowning," she whispered. "And you are air. But air isn't home." I couldn't breathe. The night pressed in, thick with exhaust and neon. Part of me wanted to burst through the door, demand answers, watch them scramble for lies. Another part, the coward, wanted to slink away, pretend the GPS had glitched, that tomorrow she'd kiss me goodbye again, and I believe her. Sarah moved to the door. I ducked into the shadows as it opened, light spilling across the parking lot. She stepped out alone, bag slung over her shoulder, face pale and determined. Mark stayed inside, head in his hands. She didn't see me. I watched her walk to her car, shoulders square like a soldier after battle. The engine turned over. Taillights disappeared around the corner. I waited until a motel sign buzzed itself to sleep. Then I crossed the lot, knocked on room 12. Mark opened the door, tie askew, eyes bloodshot. "Jesus, Dave." I punched him. Not hard. My hand shook too much, but enough to split his lip. He didn't fight back. Just touched the blood. Stared at me like I was a ghost. "She's gone," I said. My voice sounded like gravel. "And so are you." He nodded, slow. "I'm sorry" was all he managed. Sorry. The word hung between us. Useless as a broken umbrella in a storm. I drove home through empty streets. The GPS now dark. Sarah's car sat in the driveway. Driver's door ajar. Inside, the house was silent, except for the tick of the grandfather clock we'd inherited from her mom. Sarah stood in the kitchen, back to me, pouring wine with shaking hands. She turned. Her eyes were red but dry. "You followed me." "Yeah. I was going to tell you." She set the glass down untouched. After I ended it. I swear. I believed her. That was the worst part. "Why Mark?" "Because he listened," she said simply, "and you stopped." The silence stretched, thick with 12 years of mornings and mortgages and report cards. I thought of our daughter's crayon drawing on the fridge, 3 stick figures under a yellow sun. I thought of the scar on Sarah's wrist, how I'd traced it the night we brought Lily home from the hospital, whispering promises into her hair. "I don't know how to fix this," I said. Sarah's smile was small, sad, real. "Neither do I. But I'm not leaving. Not tonight." She reached for my hand. I let her take it. Her fingers were cold, but they didn't let go. Outside, the first snow of the season began to fall, soft and erasing. Inside, we stood in the wreckage of what we'd built, holding on to the only truth left. Love wasn't the absence of betrayal. It was the choice to stay after the earthquake.